the main reason why they let Govan, the mastermind of the Young Dolph setup and the hit, they let him go because the feds know that they're really trying to go after Yo Gotti. Once everything happened to Big Jook and everything happened to all the other dudes that got hit up, everybody knows that the money came from Yo Gotti or CMG, allegedly. Now, the connection is undoubted because Govan worked for CMG for over 8 to 9 years, and he has a lot. They have the track record showing every single time that the beef with Yo Gotti and Dolph escalated, and there was some altercations that happened North Carolina with the 100 shots in LA and all that. They already know Govan Hernandez was seen running away from the scene. He was one of the suspects, a person of interest and everything, and he got out of that jam too. A lot of times people are saying that Govan must be telling and snitching on other people to get himself the reduced sentences or just to get himself out of that whole thing anyways. But at the end of the day, when the jury chose to let Govan free, it's because everybody knows that the feds is about to pick the case up. A lot of the times when the case makes it out the state and they drop the charges or you get out free, then the feds turn around and pick the case back up, and now you got to go through federal trial. Feds got a 99.9% success rate. So this is how they're always able to jam up and lock up these dudes. Like, you've seen rappers get locked up in the feds so many times, year after year, over and over and over again, because the feds is hard to beat. The feds, you can't beat the feds like how Govan just got out of that jam in Memphis, in Tennessee. So the feds is going to be coming with way more evidence. They're going to actually be able to track and trace where, if the money came from Big Jook, and they already subpoenaed Big Jook's Chase bank account, and they already know that he was getting wires from Yo Gotti and cash and everything. They watched the actual cameras to follow them around every move. They got the actual location from Apple and iCloud. So once they got the locations, they knew where Big Jook was meeting up with Govan at to hand him the money to go give to the hitters. They figured out that when Yo Gotti took out $50,000 cash from the ATM, that was the same exact amount of money that they had put on their head to get the whole thing going to start the hit. And so once they pretty much connect the dots on all that kind of stuff is when the feds is going to end up pretty much winning this whole thing. So one thing people got to understand is that Govan was already looking at a plea deal before this whole thing started. And so the plea deal ended up getting out of question because the lawyers found a way to say that Govan himself wasn't the one who pulled the trigger, and that they couldn't prove without doubt that he was the one that actually set the whole thing up. He was the middleman of the middle. This is why Yo Gotti had used Big Jook, and Big Jook had used Govan, and then Govan uses Straight Drop and Cornelius and all that, and then them two used Devin Byrne or whoever the getaway driver was. So at the end of the day, it was so many layers and everything like that the state couldn't really prove it with the evidence that they had. But the feds, they got more resources. They gonna end up actually being able to put more money up to get more info, to be able to get the footages, to be able to get more subpoenas to more accounts and see how they was moving the money around. Because at the end of the day, everybody knows that the motive was based off of the beef that Yo Gotti had with Young Dolph. All of the people that's involved in this situation is connected to Yo Gotti. This is why the feds are going after him, y'all. So they're trying to get justice for Dolph. And Mia J, Young Dolph's family, they believe that they did not get the justice for Dolph, and that Govan got a slap on the wrist. So this is why the feds is about to take over the case, because they have to make an example out of everything that went down, you know. And at the end of the day, it really comes down to, you know, if the people from Dolph's side is actually going to end up trying to pursue or anything like that. Because you got to understand that if it goes out into the streets again and Govan gets hit up or somebody get back or this or that, then the feds are going to pick this case up because they don't want no more bloodshed. They don't want no more battles in the streets, another body drop, this and that, all because they're trying to get the street justice because the regular justice wasn't served. So, and at the end of the day, the feds are not just going to let somebody get away scot-free. If they see that somebody got a slap on the wrist in the state case, they going to turn around and be like, nah, maybe they let you get away with it in Tennessee, but the feds, they run the country. Their jurisdiction is all 50 states. So they're like, you might have got away with it in Tennessee, but you're not going to get away with it on the national level. And this is why there's different charges that they're going to bring up. Allegedly, a lot of people are saying that basically from straight drop not saying anything, him not snitching, is the reason why he got the life sentence. Cornelius Smith, he was telling on everybody. He was saying everything, and he even knew that if he told too much on Govan that he'd get hit up while he's behind bars. He still got to do a little bit of time. He got his time reduced for cooperating with the prosecutors and everything like that. But at the end of the day, because he got paid by Govan and everything, he must not have said too much about Govan, but he must have blamed it all on straight drop. He must have said, whatever he had to say to get his time lessened. And, how did Govan walk free when there's a guy that's snitching? So was it planned for straight drop to not say nothing and him to get the more time? And for Cornelius to tell and blame it on straight drop so that Govan could walk free? Because if Govan has to, if they put him on the stand and they make the connection between him and Big Jook, that's how they was going to get Yo Gotti. Because Big Jook got hit up and he's long gone and everything like that. That's a major key person that they was going to interrogate, that they was going to subpoena, bring all the records and everything. Because if Big Jook didn't get hit up when he did, then they could hold him accountable for giving Govan the bread, allegedly, however it happened, however it all went down. That a lot of people think that the bread for putting the money on Dolph's head went from Yo Gotti to his brother Big Jook, because Big Jook is Gotti's right-hand man. That's his big brother. He does all the enforcing. He does all the muscle in the street. So, he's keeping the dudes in line, telling them to do drills and spin the block and whatnot. So if they would have had ample time, enough time before Big Jook got hit up, then they would have been able to connect more dots, and maybe they would have been able to put Big Jook for like 20 years. He would have got sentenced along with straight drop and Cornelius Smith, because he was the if Govan ain't the mastermind and he got out from a jury, then that means the mastermind must have been Big Jook and Yo Gotti. That's the only other people that's left in this whole entire ordeal. So if the feds pick this case up, then it's going to be Govan and Yo Gotti in the feds, mano y mano, telling on each other. And Govan, he's like, man, I'm getting old. I can't take it. I'm not going to be sleeping in the cell trying to fight off YNs. Yo Gotti, on the other hand, he got a lot of bread, so he gonna get his commissary. He's gonna be able to get a lot of honey buns and beef jerky stuff and make spreads and all that kind of thing. And so he's gonna have his bread. But Govan, he might not be able to survive. So if the feds come up to Govan, start a whole new case on this, and he might end up pretty much telling on Yo Gotti, because that's Big Jook got taken out the picture, and if Govan don't want to do none of the time, then he's gonna have to fess up. And it's all gonna be a revolving door. This whole thing could have been avoided. The senselessness of this whole entire thing, the greed, the jealousy, the envy that people had against Young Dolph, because he was doing very good and he was a self-made man. He did not need Yo Gotti to come up, and that's what made Yo Gotti mad to begin with, because he tried to manipulate Dolph into going through him and everything through him so he could control the narrative or say that he was a big part in this and that. But Dolph knew better, that he was going to move on his own and walk his own path, because he knew a lot of people wanted to get in his lane and siphon the bread off of him because Dolph had the vision and all that.